All right, folks, welcome to Season 6, Episode 1 of the PowerUp Podcast. I am happy to be back, and I've got a very cool guest with me tonight. It is Nick Williams of Kentokyo Battle Circuit. Nick, say hi to everybody.
Hello, how's everyone doing tonight?
So before we get started with today's news segment, tell us a little bit about you and about KBC.
Well, my name's Nick. I am from originally Eastern Kentucky down in the boonies, and later on moved to the city in Lexington. My handle is Red Muffler Man. I'm a Guilty Gear player, mostly just play a lot of anime. And I'm one of the people in Kentucky that's kind of trying to move the fighting game community along, trying to get us more gatherings, more people playing. I just want to see people playing, and just trying to get the community together, basically.
Excellent, that's great, and we will be getting into more about you and your personal history and KBC in the strategy segment of the podcast. But for now, let's begin the news segment.
All right.
Okay, so the first question is one that's been in recent FGC news, and that's the ban of Noel Brown from the Capcom Pro Tour and also Combo Breaker. Have you heard about that?
Just everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. So, I'm of the opinion that he was nuts to do it in the first place, but even more nuts to do it in front of the big screen and the stream camera. I mean, that's just insane to me. But what's your take on it?
I pretty much agree with that for the most part in its entirety. It's like the fact that he would just go and he'd just take a nice grab and then on camera for one thing, it's like it's already rude and really scummy.
Right.
But then the fact that he would just do it in front of everyone is just, oh gosh.
Yeah, it was something else. I heard rumors that the lady was maybe going back on what she was saying, maybe feeling bad for what had happened to him. I don't know. That didn't really come to anything. I haven't seen anything else about that. But even if she was feeling guilty, I don't know. I feel like that's just not necessary because it was him and his behavior. And I don't do my event series anymore, but stuff like that is in my rule set, things about harassment, and it should be taken very seriously. So from the TO's perspective, what's your take on it?
Well, we've actually discussed this a little bit today, oddly enough.
Okay.
The chairman of the con, my buddy Dalton, we were talking about what would happen if Noel Brown came to KBC, and we pretty much came to the unanimous decision that we would not let him in.
Wow.
I wouldn't want him near, because it's also like an anime convention, so I wouldn't want him near like cosplayers and stuff, because I feel like that's just a disaster waiting to happen.
Now that's interesting. With cons, and I mean they're scantily clad and ladies walking around, is that a problem in cons? I actually am not too familiar.
There's been on quite a few little incidents where ladies and men cosplaying as various different characters in various degrees of dress tend to get a lot of harassment from people. I've heard stories like a con in Atlanta, for instance. There was a guy dressed up as Link, and there was this baseball team that was around, and they were harassing the heck out of this guy. And it got to the point where it was so bad, he ended up just beating one of the kids in the head with Link's shield and just walking off. There's a bunch of stuff like that goes on at cons, and a lot of it you never hear about.
That's crazy. So, I mean, I assume there's security and everything like that around.
Oh yeah, there's lots of security, and that's one major thing we're trying to keep up with at our show, is making sure everyone's secure, that no one has to feel uncomfortable about anything.
That's good. That's awesome. Wow, I didn't realize that. I mean, that's really awesome, but it's just not something that would have crossed my mind, that security of that sort was such a big thing for cons. So that's awesome. I'm really happy to hear that, actually. Very nice. Well, okay, let's go to something a little bit more lighthearted. What about Guilty Gear Revelator? I mean, it just dropped. You identified as a Guilty Gear player. What are you thinking about the game?
Okay, so it just dropped. I just hopped online probably about I'd say when it dropped at midnight. I immediately downloaded it, got away from all the work that I was doing, and I hopped online. I've been playing the demo for a while, and I've been playing Johnny because I've been wanting to play him since AC, and now he's ridiculously good.
Nice.
So I'm like, I better do this while I can because he's apparently getting nerfed. But so far, like, Xrd's already basically been my favorite modern fighting game other than Under Night In-Birth.
Mm-hmm.
And it pretty much stays that way for the most part. Like, everything is still really good. I like the speed of the game. The new characters are really interesting. Jacko is a nightmare.
Yeah.
Raven has a lot of really cool mix-up tools.
Mm-hmm. I
like Coom's design, but I feel like that character needs some more work, and people need to discover stuff with that character. But overall, it's good.
Sorry to interrupt. Somebody I saw posted that Coom, they said, well, I don't know if it was you, said that he's like a KOF character. What do you think they were talking about? I take it wasn't you. I didn't hear that from you on your Twitter feed or anything. But yeah, somebody posted Coom's like a KOF character in Guilty Gear, and I was I'm not sure what they were saying. Can you maybe enlighten me on that?
The reason why they might think that is I know that Coom has a lot of evasive type kinds of special moves.
Oh, okay.
Where he has a lot of moves that can like low crush, and a lot of moves that will like go under fireballs and such. And like all of his special move properties can change, so he has a lot of utility with that.
Okay.
He's also all link, or she is also all links. So I think the only Gatlings that she has are aerial Gatlings, and everything else is just like I think like 2 or 3 frame links for everything. Mm-hmm. And let's see, and then like she has like decent normals. So I could, from like the links comparison and having some of the evasive special moves, kind of like what Kim has with Hongetsuzan, I believe is what it's called. Like, Coom has stuff like that. So going by like the moveset that Coom has with specials and like the types of normals that Coom has, I could kind of see why people would compare her to a KOF character.
Okay, interesting. So you said you were liking Raven. Who's been your main up to now?
Up until now, I've just been playing Kai. Okay. Mostly because I like really basic characters. I like having a simple answer to a complex situation. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that's going to change, but right now I'm going to dabble with Raven, and I've still been liking Johnny. But having weaknesses scares me, so I'm not sure.
Okay. Very cool. All right, so last question for the news segment, Combo Breaker. It's gotten a lot of positive press, and deservedly so. Were you able to attend Combo Breaker this year?
I was not, sadly, because of just various money issues, trying to save up for other things. But I had a friend that went, and apparently he had a blast.
Awesome. So I've seen a lot of comparisons, a lot of the way it's been described is as a grassroots plus esports sort of event. I think there was an article on Shoryuken that kind of made that point. So what do you think of that, of Combo Breaker as this grassroots plus esports amalgamation sort of thing?
I mean, I don't have a lot to say, but what I would have to say is that's what I would see the FGC as overall, and where I would like to see it go. Okay. I would like to see the FGC maybe in like big stadiums, but at the same time, I'm seeing that happen with EVO, and I don't really know how much I like it actually. I kind of like that grassroots mentality of, you know, it's like the video game equivalent to Cheers, where you walk in, everybody knows who you are. Hey. Yeah, like it's like a lot of that stuff. I feel like that's becoming harder to find in competitive gaming a lot of the time, since now we're staying home all the time, playing online. And I feel like fighting games is really one of the last types of games that actually has the go out traveling and meet new people type of ordeal going on.
I gotcha. All right, well, that's an excellent segue. We're going to be starting the strategy segment now, and what we're going to be talking about in this segment is not strategy about characters, but as a TO, we're going to be having you kind of talk about the history of and implementation of KBC. So let's start the strategy segment. All right, so Nick, KBC, where does it come from? What's the foundation? What's the inception of this event?
Okay, so KBC, I would say that the culmination of this event started about 4 years ago when I first moved from the city down into the boonies. I found a flyer for some dude wanting to do anime meetups. and game meetups. And I called up this guy. We met at an old sandwich shop named Dagwood's, and I was like, so you're wanting to do tournaments and stuff. I want to help.
Yeah.
So, dude I'd never met before. Next day, drives to my house, shady van, bunch of shady people in the back I'd never met before.
Mm-hmm.
And my instincts were telling me to run, that this was a terrible idea. But I did it. And then we started hosting. Then we went to the library where we hosted a Street Fighter 4 tournament and some casuals for like Blaze Blue and Marvel, which it was back when Vanilla Marvel had first come out.
Mm-hmm.
And so from there, it escalated to we started an anime convention. Okay. And at the anime convention, I was the head of the game room. And so while I was running the game room, I always just made sure there were lots of setups, and I started running tournaments for things like Street Fighter and Blaze Blue and Marvel there. Mm-hmm. And then as the years went on, I started getting bigger and bigger. More people started showing up. Finally, the con had gotten some new management due to some creative differences between some people.
Yeah.
And the guy in charge now had gone to Fight Fest over at Fandom Fest,
yeah.
which is a tournament run by our buddy Dalton.
Right.
But basically, he's like, I like that. I want to run something like that at Kentokyocon. So he offered me funding for bonus pots. He offered me help with procuring some setups, which is what we're still doing at the moment, is getting together some hardware. Mm-hmm. But we shook on it. We're like, okay, let's try this and see what's up. So now today we have the 4 or 5 main games, each backed by bonus pots ranging from $100 to $500.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And that's the short form of basically what happened.
Very cool. Yes, and I've been pushing KBC on my weekend shows, Saturday morning scrimmage and Sunday morning switch up, making sure to run that advertisement that I made for you, and hopefully it's reached a few people. I certainly hope so anyways. Because, yeah, it's really cool that you have those pot bonuses. I mean, it's becoming the norm and almost expected, which is not necessarily the right thing for players to assume that every event's going to have pot bonuses, but when they have them, it's really hype, so that's excellent. When it comes to the event planning, you were talking about getting setups. What else has gone into the pre-production of KBC?
Well, right now, a lot of pre-production has been deciding what sort of like side tournaments we want to have, mm-hmm. The layout of the room, since we have to have everything laid out at least a few months before the event, since
really?
They have to lay out. Yeah, because the way the convention center works is we have to know what our table layouts are. So we have to plan out exactly what the table layouts are. We have to plan out exactly what kind of stage we want, where we want projectors, just all of this different stuff, how many rooms we want for different games. And so a lot of that has just been, okay, if we have all this space, how many setups are we going to need to fill something? What's the amount of setups that we would want to do to run tournaments? Since this is an anime convention, we have all of our fighting game stuff, but what other stuff are we going to have for people who aren't super interested in fighting games to still have something to do?
Gotcha. So it's more of like the general game room experience as well.
Yes.
Cool. Very cool. What about volunteers? Are you going to be soliciting your own individual game room volunteers, or is it something that the con will be able to provide for you?
The con could provide for me, but I've had some experiences in the past with people that aren't ridiculously savvy on game rooms, unplugging a power strip full of consoles and causing some data to be gone forever.
Yeah.
So something that I'm probably going to be doing in the next week or so, once I'm back from this convention we're going to this weekend, is I'm going to be procuring some hand-picked volunteers. I have already a few people in mind that I have helping me to run things, but there's a few other people that I would really like to get on staff to help TO and to make sure everything can run smoothly.
Very cool. Yeah, I think I saw a Facebook post from you to that effect, asking for people to kind of come forward and volunteer their time, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm. And if you volunteer, you would also get you basically just get your door fee paid for. So all you would really need to do is pay for tournament entry. Mm-hmm. So if people wanted to devote a little bit of time, it's a nice little benefit for them. Save them like $30.
Gotcha. Excellent. Well, there you go. As a TO, and you've done this for a while now, what are some of the common problems that you found pop up when running a fighting game tournament?
All right, so this is a problem for at least convention tournaments that I'm pretty sure is apparent somewhat in normal tournaments, but more so in a setting where you're also having like a big convention going on. And that's calling for people, but finding out that they have gone somewhere else to do something else. Yeah. Say, like Final Round, for instance. Like, I was at the Final Round entering Under Night and Guilty Gear, but I had to be running back and forth because those brackets started at almost the exact same time.
Yep.
So I was back and forth, making sure I had to try to not get myself DQ'd. But at least with that, people are there for one thing, and they're there to make sure that they play and don't get DQ'd. But for something like an anime con, people will be like, oh, I want to go to this panel, or I want to meet this big famous voice actor or something. Right. And so you'll have people that just sort of run off, and during the middle of a tournament, you never see them again. And then they come back like 2 hours later, ask what their match is, and you have to explain to them that they've been DQ'd, but they don't exactly understand what that means. And so it's a very different kind of feel, like, because you're working with a lot of people that aren't 100% savvy with how tournaments work, so you end up having to make a lot of really, I guess, strange kind of decisions that I feel like you wouldn't normally have to make in a dedicated tournament setting.
Gotcha. In those sorts of situations, do the people who don't quite understand, do they usually seek a refund for their entry fees?
I've never had that happen before. But I know that if it did happen, I would have to just tell them, I'm sorry, you did enter this tournament with putting your own money on the line, but if you just walk off and do something else, I'm sorry, I can't really do much for you, as much as that might make me sound like a crappy person. Wow. But, like, it's just the way it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. So what other sorts of rules and regulations or other sorts of planning have gone in? Well, let's talk about rules. So do you have a dedicated rule set that people can go to and say, oh, this or that?
I don't have one up yet, but it is something that I'll probably be posting up in the next week or so. Cool. Is just having a dedicated rule set for everyone, because I know Smash is going to need it, because Smash is a game full of rules that I'm pretty sure since the last time I've hosted one, it has probably changed a few times when it comes to legality of stages and such.
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah.
Probably so. So any other problems? I know that for me, getting a hold of players is definitely a difficulty sometimes. The only other thing, are you doing paper brackets or are you using bracket software?
We'll be using bracket software. But the thing that I feel like you always need to do for a big tournament when you're using bracket software is, once that bracket is in the software, write it out on paper just in case anything happens. Yeah. Because what ended up happening a couple of years ago at Kentokyocon was I had a faulty laptop, which is its battery had basically died. And so it was running off of AC power. We were halfway through a small Marvel bracket, and someone had unplugged it. We lost all the progress for Marvel and basically had to rewrite everything that happened. It was a big time loss.
Ugh, that sucks.
It is, but we have better hardware now. So stuff like that will become less of an issue this year. And I've also just made sure that, once we have a bracket made, it's getting written down immediately, so nothing like that is going to happen.
Excellent. Well, I mean, the problems arise, and it's always great to learn from them. So speaking of hardware, are you going to be able to stream?
Yes, we're actually working on hopefully getting 2 streams.
Wicked.
Yeah, one main stream for main stage where games like Street Fighter and Smash and such are going to be played. And then we're going to have an off-cast stream, which is most likely going to be dedicated almost entirely to Killer Instinct, depending on if I can get Killer Instinct World Cup status in time, which is something I'm working on.
Well, good luck with that. I definitely hope that you do. That would be great.
Oh, it would be excellent.
All right, cool. Well, that's pretty much it for the strategy segment. We're going to move into the community segment. Well, we'll talk more about KBC, but we'll kind of shift focus, talk about collaboration, promotion, attendee solicitation, and stuff like that. So let us begin the community segment of the podcast. So, with me, when I was running the PowerUp series, I was providing you with seeding points. So, and those players, I really hope that they show up. I really hit the point home with them that this was a cool thing for them to take advantage of going into the KBC Regional. So, that's definitely one piece of promotion and kind of cross-TO collaboration. Have you had any other TOs that have been able to collaborate with you?
I had made it a point to get a hold of the man that was running the Louisville Monthly. But sadly, he seems to have stopped for much of the same reason that you have stopped for now, was that he wanted to go back to being a player, that he was stressed out by running this event every month. And I currently do not know the status of what is going on with the Louisville Monthly, but I wanted to get to touch base with him. But that was not able to happen, and I'm sad that it did not happen. But other than that, currently I do not know of any other TOs in the region.
No, I got you. Well, I certainly hope that the Louisville folks, get a hold of them. I really hope that they make it out at least to the event. That would be great.
Oh, I'm really hoping for Louisville to come up. I'm hoping for Indiana people and Cincinnati, and I'm hoping everyone comes. I want to make this a great time for everyone.
And so, are you a member of the different Facebook groups, able to post about the event and their different groups and things like that?
Yes.
Excellent. Very cool. So what else do you do to seek attendees? Have you been advertising locally? Have you been doing anything else to try to get other people coming into fresh faces, perhaps, to come to the fighting game tournament?
Well, the first thing we would be doing is I run our monthlies down here in Lexington.
Right.
More or less every month. Sometimes things come up and I happen to run them a little late sometimes, but I try to run them at least every month. And there's always flyers there for our convention and another convention that I'm usually also running things for. I always blast KBC at those. I blast those events everywhere I can on Facebook to try to draw in attendees and just sort of at least get people excited and knowing about the regional, even if they don't come to the monthly.
Right, that's excellent.
And then the other way is going to other events. I've been dropping flyers at places like Frosty Faustings. We would talk to some people at Final Round. And I think the big thing that we're going to be trying to draw is also from the local convention circuit around here, which is very big. We had a lot of people show interest in Ohio during OhioCon, and we'll be going to OMGCon this weekend, where I'm going to be running this little thing where I'll be playing Revelator at the table, and if someone can beat me in a 1st to 3, then they'll get a free badge to the convention. Whoa. So I'm going to try to use some stuff like that to try to drum up some attention, drum up some excitement.
That is so cool. That would be sick to have recorded overhand with like some sort of camcorder.
That's what we're doing.
Really? Oh man.
Yeah, we're bringing a full capture card setup.
Oh, that's so cool. That's like the best sort of grassroots viral-esque marketing. That's a really cool idea. All right, so what's your goal number for KBC Regional?
Well, my goal number is, I would say, I'd like to at least hit about 150, 200 people at the least. It's like, that's what everyone is kind of projecting. I think I'm projecting about 150. Everyone else is kind of projecting about 200-ish. Okay. I think they're a little optimistic about it. I might be a little pessimistic about it, but I've seen some stuff happen in the past, so I guess I'm just a worrywart. But I'm really hoping that people come down. I'm hoping Smash and Street Fighter V will be a big draw for the local communities, and that just a lot of people show up, and I really want this event to succeed.
Well, you certainly have my support. Speaking of Smash and Street Fighter, I'm glad that you brought that up. There's Smash Brothers, and then there's the FGC. That's kind of the classic narrative. at least since I've ever been a member of the fighting game community. Do you feel that the divides are starting to break down between those two communities?
Totally.
Excellent.
Like a lot of fighting game players, whenever Smash 4 came out or whenever Melee had its huge resurgence, I saw a lot of people hopping back to those games. I've seen a lot of Smash players. They have actually gone on to start playing, Street Fighter 4, Street Fighter 5, Street Fighter 4. A lot of them play Marvel. Falcomist, I believe, was one, for instance, who I believe started off as a big Melee player that ended up migrating to Melee. Or the more popular example that just popped into my head, Chris G. I think that there's a lot more about those communities that are alike now.
Yeah.
And I really think that soon enough, there really won't be a huge divide between the Smash community and the FGC, especially with the advent of EVO finally hosting Smash again for the past few years.
Yeah, absolutely. That's gonna be pretty hype. I enjoy watching Smash. It's not my favorite to play right now, but once I get through some games that I prefer more, perhaps one day I'll pick up Smash Brothers competitively again. Who knows? It's really fun to play, that's for sure. All right, so let's talk about, earlier on in the podcast, you mentioned that you weren't quite sure if you liked the direction that EVO was going. Could you elaborate on that?
All right, so I agree with a lot of stuff about EVO. I do kind of like the fact that they're getting like a big stage, that they're becoming very, for lack of a better word, I guess, esports, legitimate, which I like that that's happening with that, and I'm happy for them. But if I were to go to EVO, because I still have yet to go, but if I were to go to EVO, and if, say, I stepped into the doors of the hotel, and what I saw was just a huge, just crowd, almost stadium-esque, like it is at the big Dota 2 tournaments or League of Legends tournaments, something would feel off. I come to fighting game tournaments partly to compete and partly to better myself, but I also come to meet with people that if it weren't for these types of games, would never meet almost in any other type of venue. And without that personal element, I would find it very hard to really want to go to tournaments.
So do you feel that when you say personal element, do you mean the personal element of playing against someone else, or because I guess when it's finals day, you could have like a personal element sort of where you have gotten tickets for all you and your buds, and now you're watching the top players, finishing out the tournament. Is that what you mean, or is there something even about that that's not quite what you're looking for?
Not quite that. It's more in the sense of I would want to go to meet new people. But if everything is, very esports, very big, you probably end up with a mindset similar to what a lot of League players have, and not to put League on blast or anything, but there are a lot of League players and Dota 2 players that I know are not the most sociable people. They're a lot of people are kind of mean-spirited. And if that were to go over to the FGC, where you would see a lot of people that would only be worried about the game, only be worried about how they placed, and less about meeting new people, I would lose a lot of my enthusiasm, I feel. And I don't feel like EVO is going in that direction. Right. But it worries me the bigger it would get. And I'm hoping that at least some of that grassroots elements, grassroots elements from tournaments past can at least just sort of keep their place. That's all that's all I would ask for.
Yeah, so that would be your wish list, is to basically have the grassroots elements stick around. Could you give me like a practical, for me, grassroots means sort of what you were saying, where it's about knowing the people, it's about meeting new people. Is there any other element to grassroots? Because it's a very vague term that's sort of just thrown around to give events some sort of, I don't know, street cred, if you can call it that. But is there any other example of what grassroots means to you?
Well, I guess grassroots in its most extreme sense would be playing Melty Blood next to a Snapple machine. I don't think we need to go that far.
Okay.
Let's see. I guess just To me, mostly, I think it would just be the community aspect of a bunch of people coming together and who otherwise we would probably never meet. It's a way for, say, the kind of nerdy kid and the jock to say come together and work at something or play together in something in which they otherwise would never talk, just to make connections with people. And that's my biggest definition of grassroots types events, is just being able to make connections with people and have a great time, even if you may have completely different interests other than just the game that you play.
Gotcha. And something that I think I inferred from what you were saying is that as the events get bigger and bigger, in a sort of reverse way, people get more and more isolated. I guess that sort of makes sense, but that's kind of what I'm hearing, is that if the events get too big and too processed, too produced, there's the right word, if they get too produced, then even the spectators, it's not like you're being buddy-buddy with the person next to you and spectating. It's more like you're just there almost as if it were your couch or your computer chair at home and you're watching the stream. You just happen to be in the room with all the sweat and the tears and everything else. So I don't know, I'm kind of inferring that from what you're saying, that as things get bigger, it's almost like they're getting more isolated for the individual. Is that a fair inference that I'm making?
I feel like that's a perfect description of what I'm talking about.
Gotcha. Well, all right, very interesting. We have got another segment for you, Mr. Williams, and that is going to be today's game segment. We're going to be doing a Audibles segment. So, for the listeners, you and Nick will listen to 5 different pieces of music that have been graciously allowed for use by the CPS2 music master known as Wizzy Whippet Wonderful on YouTube. Definitely check him out. There will be a link in the description of the podcast. And so he does custom themes in the CPS2 sort of style, like beeps and boops, but of course a little bit more, a little bit nicer than just that. And so you'll be listening to about a minute clip, and then I will ask a multiple choice question. Which character do you think the theme is for? It's kind of going to be a little rough. I tried it with a few of my other fighting game buddies, and they didn't do too well. So no pressure, but I hope you do well. So,
I got this.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and start the game segment. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste the rest of these links into the Skype chat.
Okay.
And we'll do them in order from 1 to 5. So what we'll do is we'll kind of go 3, 2, 1, go. Since I can't hear what you're hearing and you can't hear what I'm playing on the soundboard, we'll do 3, 2, 1, go. I'll play audible number 1 for the listeners, and then you'll play audible number 1 for yourself. We should end at about the same time, and then I'll ask the question. Sound good?
Yeah.
Awesome. Let me get audible number 4. And finally, audible number 5.
All right. All open, all buffered. I'm ready.
Okay, so for audible number 1, we'll begin in 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, Nick, everything ready to go for the question?
Yep.
Okay.
Totally ready.
All right. So, in this Wizzy Whip It Wonderful track, is it the theme of A, Alex from Street Fighter 3? Is it the theme of Spencer from Marvel vs. Capcom? Is it the theme of Axel Lowe from Guilty Gear? Or D, is it the theme of Ken Masters from Street Fighter? What do you think?
Okay, so I at least want to say I'm pretty sure it's not Axel.
Okay.
Let's see. If I had to guess, it would have to be Alex's theme, but not his Third Strike theme, I guess.
So you're going with A, Alex.
Yes.
That is unfortunately incorrect. It's actually D, Ken Masters. That is Wizzy's final arrangement take on the Street Fighter V Ken Masters.
Oh, okay.
All right, so now we've got Audible number 2. Let me know when you're ready to go.
All right, I am ready, good sir.
All right, so 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, ready for question 2?
Oh my gosh, the Marvel Superheroes sound font was amazing. But yes, I'm ready.
Okay, all right. So, for Audible number 2, is it the theme of A, Captain Ginyu from Dragon Ball Z Budokai? Is it the theme of B, Makoto from Third Strike? Is it the theme of Fei Long from Street Fighter? Or is it the theme of D, Squall from Dissidia Final Fantasy?
I'm going to go with my gut here
Mm-hmm.
and say Fei Long.
Fei Long, final answer C.
Yes.
Unfortunately incorrect. It's actually Wizzy's take on Makoto's theme.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, so I didn't fully explain the rules, which is, bad on my part. But victory can be accomplished with 3 out of 5, just like I said. So
Okay.
you still got 3 chances, so let's get Audible number 3 loaded up. Let me know when you're ready.
I am ready.
Okay, so Audible number 3 in 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, question 3.
Mm-hmm.
Is it A, Cable from Marvel vs. Capcom 2's theme? Is it B, Shaq's theme from Shaq Fu? C, is it Wing Gundam's theme from Gundam Battle Assault? Or D, is it Firebrand's theme from Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom? Cable, Shaq, Wing Gundam, or Firebrand?
Oh gosh, I've only played like one of those games. Okay,
Remember, it's his reinterpretation, so try to think about which character you think it matches. I don't know. Try to get into the mind of Wizzy Whippet Wonderful.
Alright, so if it came to fitting a character, that kind of screams Gundam to me.
Okay.
So I'm going to say Wing Gundam.
Are you sure?
I'm sure.
Last chance?
Oh, don't do this to me!
Hint. Switch your answer. Not Wing Gundam.
Okay, is it Cable?
So final answer A, Cable?
Yes.
That is correct. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, now we're on the board. Excellent. Okay, so we've got Cable on the map.
Okay, one lifeline spent.
So just start, dabbing the forehead. We're getting serious now, folks. Okay, so audible number 4. Ready to go?
Okay.
All right. So 3, 2, 1, go. All right, question 4. Is it A, Nemesis from Marvel vs. Capcom? Is it B, Jill from Marvel vs. Capcom? Is it C, Ryu from Street Fighter? Or is it D, Ryo from King of Fighters?
I was just hoping that you would say Robokai. Because that just sounded super sci-fi and futuristic to me.
Okay, well, sci-fi. All right, so you're on the right track.
So I'm thinking that it would be Nemesis.
Yes, you're correct. I'm not going to play any games with you on that one, but of course, that's just to set it up. Because now it's question 5, and now all the marbles. So, audible number 5, you ready to go?
Yes.
All right, 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, question 5. Is it A, Yang, B, Urian, C, Ragna from Blaze Blue, or D, Leonardo from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the battle game? I forget the name of it. Tournament Fighters, there we go.
Tournament Fighters, yes. Okay.
So Yang, Urian, Ragna, or Leonardo?
Alright. So at first, when I was hearing the very beginning portion, it sounded very triumphant to me. But then as it was going along, all I was able to think of was, dark and brooding. Like the kind of thing you would see if someone was walking in the desert and they had like a cape surrounding them or something. And so from what you're saying and just the mood of that music, it just makes me think Urian.
You are correct. Excellent. And now you get the victory music. Good job, Nick. That's awesome, man. You got it.
I mean, I technically got only less than half.
No,
But
it's like the show. What's it? Not Wait, Don't Tell Me. The Drew Carey show where the points don't matter. I forget the name of it.
oh, whose line is it anyway?
Yeah, it's like whose line? The points don't matter. You won. It's okay. All right. Well, Nick, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I really appreciate it. Kentokyo Battle Circuit, check it out, folks. We'll make sure to have all kinds of links, and anything that you need and want to know about the event will, of course, be linked in the description. There is one final segment for today's podcast, and that is the Listener Challenge segment. So please listen carefully. I'm going to give you a fill-in-the-blank, and you have to give a character and who matches. Fill in the blank and give a character who matches the blank word. For all you listeners out there, the way that you can win, the way that you can be entered to win the free raffle is to answer this question correctly and also the question in Season 6, Episode 2, which will be coming out hopefully next week. And so you answer this question, you send an email to PowerUpFighters@gmail.com with all the answers from both this question and the next question. If you're correct, you will be entered to win. If you're incorrect, I'm sorry, you will not be entered to win. So, don't answer this one, Nick, but you're welcome to enter if you'd like after listening to the second question in the next podcast. So, listeners, fill in the blank and give a character who matches the word. There is one correct word, but there can be multiple correct characters. This is a poem, and the fill in the blank is at the very last part. So, by night I lurk within your rafters, cold eyes plotting your downfall. In a moment you're reduced to tatters, the blood it streams right down my... what? There's your blank. So one more time. By night I lurk within your rafters, cold eyes plotting your downfall. In a moment you're reduced to tatters, the blood it streams right down my... and there you go. So please fill in the blank with the word and give me a character who kind of fulfills that blank. Perhaps a character that is embodied by that blank or uses that blank or lives in that blank. I'm trying to make it purposely vague. So hopefully you'll get it and we'll see. Look forward to question number 2 in Season 6, Episode 2. Get both questions right. Send your answers to PowerUpFighters@gmail.com. You'll be entered to win this Listener Challenge segment's raffle. So, all right, Nick, is there anything else you'd like to say about KBC or any other plugs you'd like to give?
I guess the only thing I'd really have to say is if you're in the Owensboro area this weekend, I would head down to OMGCon, and I don't want to date this too hard. Is that okay if I just say the date?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, the 11th and the 10th, the 11th, and the 12th of June. We'll be down there plugging KBC, and if you want, come try your best to body me in Guilty Gear and try to win a free badge, because right now all I'm thinking is how much fun I'm going to have just basically hitting buttons with Johnny.
Nice. Well, I look forward to it. I look forward to that video, too. Folks, thanks for listening to Season 6, Episode 1 of the Power Up Podcast. I think numbered episode like 83 or something like that, but I'll post that in the actual event. Again, thanks for listening. Check out that Listener Challenge. I really hope to see some answers, and I hope you all have an excellent day. Bye-bye.